third try, sort of. I just tried to film a video before, and that's the problem. I'm already screwing up. I said try. Oh my god, the second try was like 1/2 of a second, and I said try, and then I started the third try, and I said the same stupid thing again. Good grief. This is the Tao of Quantum Physics Part 0, and on that note, since I'm doing it after 1, this is an example of the future changing the past as they yip-yapped about on the video, my bad, Tao of Quantum Physics. The book is just called Tao of Physics. I never read the book, as I said. I just saw the title, and I guess I imagined it said the Tao of Quantum Physics or something, when I actually seen the title on the internet of the video. My brother mentioned that to me, and I said, oh yeah, you're right. And then I rented it. It's online for like $2, the Tao of Quantum Physics. There's a bunch of smart, eccentric guys talking about all kinds of real stuff, which they call the Tao. They talk about everything but the Tao. They're actually talking about Buddhism and Zen and its relation to quantum physics. Consciousness, belief, positivity, enjoyment, love, this, that, all kinds of beautiful things which may be more fundamental than the Tao, or vice versa. I don't know if easiness or enjoyment comes first or second. I've never been able to clearly see the most fundamental definition of this chicken-egg phenomenon. The chicken is the egg, if you ask a Zen master, but I don't know what is the more fundamental essence of it. The way of easiness, or the awareness of consciousness. All those guys were talking about consciousness, and most quantum physics people talk about consciousness. And that's what that video was about, is about quantum physics and consciousness, and they called it the Tao, which is pretty close. Although the Tao is actually easiness, whereas Zen and Buddhism and yoga and Christianity and mystic Christianity, all kinds of things focus on consciousness, meaning awareness, that definition of it. They run hand in hand. If I can just briefly call them enjoyment and easiness, they run together like birds of a feather. They're like the two stripes of a spiral. No one knows quite what's at the center. You never quite get to zero, or maybe you do, if you could stop following the spiral and just let yourself flow straight to the center. But no one knows which is more fundamental definition, easiness, or at least I don't know. Easiness or awareness, enjoyment, whatever. Or if they're the same thing. I even tried to combine them into a religion. I have some video called Easoiness, combined easiness, and then after a while I faded off, because I said, you know what, that Easoiness could just be called easiness, or it could just be called enjoyment, and then I realized I still didn't know. Yeah, so I went back to easiness for the most part. So my video, the second video, which I called Part 1, which I made before this Part 0, which will now affect the past video of Part 1 by defining it. This is one of the many things they yip-yapped about in the Tao of Quantum Physics video. The future changing the past, causality being cause and effect being an illusion, space maybe being an illusion, time maybe being an illusion, the quantum physics debunking all of classic physics, Newtonian physics, science physics, all kinds of stuff like that. And then they finally admitted, but we don't know what quantum physics is either. He said they say there's at least 7 schools of quantum physics, and they're all different. As in other words, to say no one knows. Like the psychiatry school, I think last I heard there was 6 different big schools of psychiatry, which means at least 5 of them are wrong. And probably the 6th one. The same thing with quantum physics, and the same thing with a lot of stuff. They've debunked physics, and they said who knows what science will change in another 5 or 10 years, and who knows how quantum physics will change. In other words, they don't know. They've just realized they don't know that classic physics is real anymore. They've kind of disproved that in quantum physics. A lot of what they said kind of hints at this is all a dream, although it's a public dream, which means if someone, if a car hits you or something painful happens or anything, it's not like we just can, even if we have control of our personal dreams, it's not like we have this omnipotent power to just dream something differently, like in the Matrix or something. It's a public dream, meaning not just other humans and animals, like the cells of metal, the magneticism of electricity, things that are more powerful per square inch than us, unless we become brighter or clearer then we slowly have more power over this public dream. But to say it's a dream, like you could just, change the dream, it's not like that. But it's a dream, a public dream, as in a dream much more bigger than any individual one of us. But the nature of a dream, just consciousness, folding itself or bending into, I guess, bending into energy, then energy into the illusion of matter, and all that into the illusions of individual self. They've seen through a lot of the myths of those things in that video and said how quantum physics has seen through it. They didn't see through everything. And a lot of the conundrums they brought up, I, for one example, saw through most of them quite easily. Not because I'm smart. I don't know. I'm of average intelligence. Maybe I used to be above average. Now I'm probably below average. It doesn't matter. I see through them because I have a rather easy mind. I see through these false dichotomies like time and space and, I don't know, causality. The things that they were trying to figure out in quantum physics and in that video, are they real or not? I saw through the dichotomy of them as they were talking more than they did. And that's not because I'm smart or anything. And I'm not enlightened. I'm not super smart. I have a rubbery mind, and I see how the nature and pattern, so to speak, of how the universe works, and I see what they're squibbling and squabbling about, what they're trying to work out, and I see it's a false dichotomy. I see what causality is. It's a cooperative agreement. I see how the future can affect the past is because causality is not causality, it's agreement, but the sequence of things in time is just to measure the order at which things happen, but because they're not happening through causality as a cause and effect in a delineated order, then the cause and effect is an agreement change. And if the cause and effect happens so-called before the next event happens, it becomes stronger with each event, so it's less likely to change. But you realize that a stronger event in the future can change the past if it's strong enough, and that's also a cause and effect, so-called agreement, and then the future changes the past. This is a good example. This video explains video number 1, where I said if you wish for all lights to be red, they suddenly turn green, and that's the Tao of quantum physics. It is, by the way. Their video is a slight mistake, which they kept calling the Tao, is the Buddhism of quantum physics, the Force, whatever. And all the stuff they were saying about consciousness and belief and all that stuff that they say in quantum physics is all pretty much true, and it's really cool new stuff. But the Tao focuses on easiness, where Buddhism and Zen and whatnot Zen is a combination of the Tao and Buddhism, but even Zen tries too hard, so I would say Zen is Buddhism with Taoist tricks. I don't quite call them, and except for Chinese Zen back in the old days where they didn't sit like a stone Buddha, they're not so tough like they are in Japan for the last 700 years or whatever. It was a little more lucid back there in China when Bodhidharma combined them, and it was more of an even blend. But Buddhism is his central focus is awareness, and then in my personal opinion, they try too hard to try to force that awareness a little bit by trying to create circumstances through this dogma which they think is most advantageous. It's not always. I don't get harped on that stuff. I say just be aware, just enjoy in whatever way enjoyment flows. I stay with the fundamental, and the same thing with the easiness in the Tao. People have changed the Tao to all kinds of weird techniques, but fundamentally I think the Tao is about easiness. Fundamentally I think Zen and Buddhism's about awareness or mindfulness, whatever. Or if you call it enjoyment, but not the wrong definition of enjoyment. The people that try to make a bright, shiny enjoyment, people are going out on a Saturday night trying so hard to have a good time, doing drugs, having sex, whatever that is, rock and roll music. They're just chasing the light or trying to make the light bright. They're not. And if they were enjoying themselves, they'd be sitting on a rock next to a river somewhere. Probably with no music and very little effort, very relaxed. But they're chasing the enjoyment. They want enjoyment, but they're chasing it. And trying is the opposite of enjoyment. I'm actually getting to my fundamental point here. I'm getting to video number 0. Trying is the opposite of enjoyment. Wherever you try to enjoy, you're not enjoying. Whenever you try to be positive, you're trying, you're not being positive. Whenever you're thinking positive, as that big movement goes, well, thinking is also the opposite of positivity. Thinking and trying are the same, by the way. Believe it or not, if you understand that the whole universe is made of mind, then you understand that effort and thinking are the same thing. those effort thinking things are the opposite of enjoyment and easiness. So I talked about easiness, the Tao of quantum physics, figuring that's what the title meant, and I was wrong about the title. The Tao of quantum physics is about positivity, consciousness, good vibes, all kinds of great stuff, and how it does affect things that were thought to be static in classic physics and Newtonian science and all that. And they're right that they've debunked all that in quantum physics, and then they admit they don't know exactly what quantum physics is either. But it's debunked a lot of the old ideals, that things were static and fixed and that everything was made of matter. And then they all had different opinions. One guy thought the mind was in the brain, and he thought if you can reprogram your brain to have open, positive thoughts, it would make you more susceptible to perceiving things and behaving in a more enlightened way. And he was right, but he was still thinking the mind was in the brain, or other people have said the brain is like a radio receiver for the mind, and the mind is everywhere. Their perceptions were limited. My perception is also limited. And then there was this one guy at the end who said, if you look inside yourself, as I have, you can see all the answers to all these questions as they are. And I was already realized that was true, which is why I won't go harping on trying to explain the things they were trying to work out, because it's totally irrelevant. Although it's not quite looking inside, turning inward and looking inside yourself. It's stopping looking and settling to the here-word and being easy enough that your awareness rests and is able to grow in the here-ness. And that is the you-ness, and that is what people call inner, and it becomes outer very quickly. When you chill out like that in your awareness, and your awareness is able to grow a little bit less hindered as it's always growing, then you easily see through all these conundrums they're trying to work their way through in quantum physics, and you see how things are, and you see there's no limit to what you can see the more you chill out and the more you enjoy the moment in the real meaning of the word enjoyment. Not what people think it is these days, not what a lot of people, especially young people, think it is. When you enjoy the silence, and then from there you can make great music and stuff. When you enjoy sitting still, doing nothing, and then from there you get happy, you get healthy, you can see past the whole romance shenanigan, but you could still be good lover, good sex, good whatever. You can see through all the impossible problems to solve. The better you are at that, chilling in the present moment. That is, I combine them in one speech, the enjoyment, easiness of quantum physics. My first video was about the easiness, because that's what the Tao is, in my opinion, of quantum physics. And in the Tao, when you try to make a light, when you want a light to be red, in that case I did, they will all turn green. The reason is because when you want a light to be red, whether it's trying to prove some stupid thing you said to a customer in Scam Dash, or because you want to be able to stop and write something down, or whatever, or clean something off your seat or something, they will all turn green. If you want to get somewhere on time, you want the lights to turn green, they will turn red. If you want the traffic in front of you to clear out, it will suddenly become twice as thick, and vice versa. And the reason for what you want, what happening being the opposite of what you want, if you want it badly enough, is not because you want it, it's because you have the bad habit of trying to get what you want. And so when you want something, you try, and because you try, you mitigate your own enjoyment, which is your positivity, which is your belief in your consciousness and your quantum physics ability to let the lights turn green in cooperation with electricity in the universe, and so on. Therein, if you want it one way, it happens the other way. What you want is the last thing you will get. Not because you want it or you feel like it, but because we all have this habit of trying to get what we want because we think trying helps. So, the Tao of quantum physics in that video was, what you want the lights to turn red, they turn green, which is exactly what happened to me when I made that video. And then if someone watches the actual video, the Tao of quantum physics, which is actually Buddhism of quantum physics, they'll be like, what the hell was that blabbermouth talking about, that Scam Dash driver talking about? He wanted the lights to turn red and green. This video didn't say anything about that. And these guys are college professors who meditated for 15 years, and they're talking about consciousness and how it affects the illusion of matter in the universe, and it debunks the illusion of an individual self and all this stuff. And they're right about all that stuff. But that's not the Tao, that's Buddhism. And that's great. And I don't know what's more fundamental, Buddhism or the Tao. I don't know. But as far as I know what the Tao is easiness, and it runs hand in hand with awareness, enjoyment, just like two stripes of a candy cane. No one knows very few know which came first, or if they're different or the same. But if you look at it from perspective of the Tao, then you can say what you try, therefore, is very unlikely to happen, and probably the opposite will happen. And then if you say the lights will turn red, or you want them to turn red for any stupid reason, or good reason, nonetheless, then you will try to make them turn red, and they will all turn green. If you're trying not to try, by the way, don't even bother doing an experiment. If you try to say, let's try to make all the lights turn red so they turn green, you're actually trying not to try and trying to make them turn green. So don't even bother. You cannot outsmart yourself. There's nothing you can do to be easy, by the way. Side note on the Tao. And believe it or not, that's how it's supposed to be, because easiness is the opposite of doing in the first place. Yeah, I made videos about the Tao. I won't yip yap about it. This video was to describe why that video seems so different. Number 0, video here, number 0, explaining. Video number 1, and changing the past of it. Quantum physics. Siren, that must mean I should shut up. Alright, video done.